today we're going to be looking at creating some sounds and choosing some sounds to go on our beats, sort of just oh, right there it needs it. A case study of how we choose sounds to establish our mood and the place that we feel like we're at. Unless you don't have a place you want to feel like you're at, then it's sort of up in the air. So we're just going to be looking at that. It's based on you having watched previous videos. There will be sound design in this video. However, I'm not going to be explaining everything in detail. I expect you to go to one of my sound design series for things like that, because the sound design is a whole separate topic. So we're just going to be looking at picking out sounds that make sense with our mood, and I'm just going to show you some of the decisions I make. These vary hugely between producers and what your vision is. So here's the beat I have to work with, and I've already made a couple decisions by the drums I've chosen to use, but here's what it sounds like. So you see, a very simple beat. It has a lot of room. We haven't taken it anywhere very specific yet. So we have a lot of room to still establish the atmosphere. However, I have hinted at with that, what was that, a conga? With that conga sound, that it's sort of this atmospheric thing. Like you can hear the verb on it. You can hear the room on it. So that's sort of what I'm shooting for. Something that's maybe peaceful, down tempo, even though it's 130. We'll see how it comes out feeling when we're done. So let's go ahead, and our first sound, I'm picturing something with like a low sine tone, something, because if you ever listen to like old like chill step or whatever, they always have this low boom 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 boom, like just this really just smooth sine tone at the bottom. So we're gonna start with that. So I'm gonna go to Citrus, and I'm gonna open this up, and I'm going to operator 1. I'm gonna turn on declick because it will put a little filter, so to avoid clicking, just in case later on, not a huge deal. And one thing I'm going to do to this sine tone, let's leave it dry like that for now. So let's just run with this and see what kind of a mood we can get just with a sine tone. So I'm going to go pretty low, and I'm going to go C to G. So here we go. We're going to do this. Do. So we're going to let go right there. And then we're going to go down to a G. So it's very simple. And we'll just go back and forth like so. So here's our sound. You might not be able to hear this if you're not listening over proper speakers, but this is it. And that's not quite the right rhythm, but you see the sound is there. So let's toss it on there. We get this. So really simple. I'm setting myself up for just an easy back and forth 2-chord deal. So, okay, cool. We have that down. The next sound, so we listen to it. We say, okay, I want to now make it seem sort of far off. I'm picturing a sort of a keys sound, some sort of an airy pluck sound. So let's go ahead and make that. So this is our sub bass, really simple. So we're going to name the next one our airy, let's just name it air pluck. Okay, cool. And we will open that, close the other one just because CPU and it's in our way. We're going to go operator 1. I'm using FM obviously for this, and I'm just going to really quick make a fast envelope. Maybe let it ring out a little bit. This still controls the release. And let's change it up. Okay, let's send it out the verb. Turn on the reverb. Turn on the decay, which is one of these, this one. Now, part of the thing that makes a sound far away or a large space is generally they have a not very much high frequency in the initial direct sound. So because if someone's whispering in your ear, they sound super close, and you can tell because all their little all the high frequencies in their voice come out. Oh, they're little. I don't know where I was going with that. All the high frequencies in their voice come out, and you can tell that they're very close. So if we take away the high frequencies in the direct sound, it will sound much farther away. So, and the shimmery type sound generally comes from when your reverb has high end in it, you sound like it gives you a sense of the material the space is made out of instead of how close they are to you a lot of the time. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put it out the reverb. I'm going to go into my, here's what I'm going to do. I keep saying weird stuff. I'm going to go to my filter 1. I'm going to send it out filter 1. I'm going to send it out the effect out in, not so much out the dry out. And we get that. It's because on my filter, I have a high, I'm using the state variable filter. We'll bring up the mid band. Okay, and let's go into here. High cut. Let's bring up. So I'm doing a low cut on the reverb. That's what this is. These letters, they tell you what they are over there. I forget what they mean all the time. I want like a long thing though. So okay, now we're gonna establish our mood quite a bit more with this sound. So let's do, now we got to choose rhythm and harmony and melody and all that other stuff. I'm going to just try and make it as simple as possible for now. So, and this is like a billion times easier than working in Renoise, I think, as far as like creating a melody like this, because it's so visual. It's like right there. But Renoise has like the way they do it, I don't know. They're really different. Not necessarily better, just really different. So here we go. And I'm going to do A minor. Just keep it simple. Or what did I say? Did I say C minor? Yeah, I picked C and G. So let's stick with that. So we're going to go to, where's the sounds I laid down? Must have been in some other pattern. Let's go to C and then G. Oh, I made C last for 2 measures, I think. Yeah, I did. No problem. These are all still in C. And then we'll go down to G. We'll do one of these. Ooh, this is kind of a neat little thing we have going here. So let's do this again. I'm going to clone the B side, and on this one, I'm going to go up. I like this little offbeat thing. Rhythm, this isn't a video about rhythm, but you saw the sound. Now we could change our sound a little bit and see what variations we get by changing the FM that we've used. Oops, I went too far. I've gone too far with that. Now the sub is like really loud. Let's go take care of the sub. We'll deal with the sub later in mixing. Well, that's what I would do. I'm not going to explain that here. But you see there's like harmonics that appear when the sine tone shows up and goes away. I'm just going to sort of round out the sub. Mixing with an EQ like this too, you can target specific notes, and with a sub, when it's a sine tone, you can deliberately, instead of using volume automation, you can just make a permanent EQ change if it's just a sine tone sub, because there's no spectrum around it. So this is basically just changing the volume of all the individual notes. So that's sort of how I view an EQ on a sub when it's just a sine tone. So that's pretty cool. Now let's create something that would be a little bit of sparkle on our sound, right? And so to do that, I'm gonna go sort of a chiptune style on us. I know I'm opening up Citrus, but I know Citrus is included. Most of you probably have Citrus. You have to purchase Harmon separate and all that other jazz. So I'm gonna stick with this for now, and I'm going to go and I'm gonna use a pulse wave. That's what I'm gonna use. Sounds like that. And these can sound really cool if you verb them and filter them a little bit. So I'm going to, again, go out my filter, and I'm going to keep the order of the chorus down pretty low. And this is the depth. I want this to be a very light effect. So you can hear the room on it already a little bit. And I'm going to turn on the verb. And I'm going to do something similar with a low cut. I'm going to bring up my decay. And this one, I do want the high end on the verb. Like, that's an important thing. So it's already almost there. I'm going to turn on oversampling for this quality right now. Let's go here and open this up. I'm looking for something a little more in that range. Might have to come in here and dial in the filters more. But let's say that I want these little sparkly moments occasionally. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to name this our bright sound. And it's just going to be like the occasional, sort of like if things were flying towards you. Maybe like something bright, like air or mist. Whoosh, you know, one of those. So we'll see how this works. This is going to be an experiment. And I'm going to get down to really small steps. And that'll do. We have this. That's not small enough, though. We'll go down to fourth. Shrink them all down. And it's a little loud. Now we're getting this at the beginning. I don't necessarily want that. So we're going to go in, put on a volume envelope to take care of that problem. Now we can shape our sound a little bit more. These are all pretty cool. Let's go into our filter now. Change that up. This might be a little more effective to get at through an EQ. So I'm going to name this bright sound. So let's add an EQ. Bum, 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 bum. I hear a click. Let's see if doing this can fix that. Nope, there's still a click there. It's so small though. Probably get away with it for now. So, whoops. Let's change our grid back. Okay, so here's what we got. Oh, this should be minor. Missed that. Trying to make up my mind if I like it or not. Just changing up the notes, and these sound like they could go one over, like something small. Maybe if we put down, that'd be interesting. So at this point, let's pick out a nifty sort of lead sound. I'm going to say what I've done so far. So I'm going to go to reactor for this because there's a specific sound. Actually, let's go to massive. Probably more of you are more comfortable in massive. There's steam pipe. Check out steam pipe. Really cool. But there's another cool one in here. We search for it. It's called Amsterdam. Oh, I have my keyboard thing off. Take that off. Amsterdam. Hello. Let me type. Thank you. Still doesn't want to let me type. Keep focus. That's the button, I think. There it is. Nope, that's not it. Oh, I think it is. I'm just playing it really low. That is it. Very kind of cool sound. And you could go in and look at the synthesis, but if you have a patch like that in your mind, and you see this actually is not as complicated as it looks. It just looks complicated because there's yellow lines everywhere, but those are just hooked up so that you have various options for shaping your sound later on. So very cool. It's a combination of it's a combination of filtering, choosing your wavetables wisely, and using noise with some verb. So let's go ahead and toss that onto our beautiful track. Let's add it into pattern 3 since it has the ARP already. And I'm not focusing on developing a track right now, so I'm just going to write it in on top. That's kind of cool. I'm going to leave that there. I didn't intend to do that. It just came out cool. Maybe we'll do wispy things. This would be... So see, we're getting closer to our mood here. You know what I'm thinking? Maybe a pluck sound would sound cool for this, but something like that. Move these back over to where they originally were. Whoops, go back. Let's go to our filter, bring up so I don't need this. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I am going to go into contact. So something that really helps is if you find a cool sample or something you can put in the background, something that just adds that organic little touch of sound. So I happen to own Spitfire's Albion 5 Tundra, which is all about playing really soft and sort of intimately. They have some really cool string patches as well. They have stuff like this in here. Let me go to this here. Am I too high up? There we are. See, it's really nice. They have some really cool pads and stuff in here too. So this is stuff that designing synthesis wise would just be ridiculous. Like it would take forever unless you were building like a model based on it. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to go into my Tundra preset. This is a free plugin. It's called BRSO Articulate. Very cool. I'm going to go to strings high 1. Turn that back on. I really need to save it with that setting on. So let's see here. Here we go. Did I load up low or high? I loaded up low. I want high. Let's go load up high. hit yes. So I'm just going to add in some drone sort of in the background, just some color sound. Like so. Very cool. Okay, so I copied that into there. I'm going to make this its own thing. And something when you're working with sounds of this kind that happens is wow, my dog's going crazy. You can come in here and change the dynamics over time. This sound already sort of rises and falls on its own, so I don't really need to worry about it. But I'm going to add in another sound, and this one's sort of a mystery. I don't know exactly what I want to do yet. I'm thinking maybe layer in some strings on top of it of the same nature. So let's go ahead and look for some cool sort of loose pluck sounds. Or let's add in some woodwinds. Let's add in some high woodwinds and experiment with the sounds we have available through that. So strings, highs. But you see, we're getting closer and closer and closer. We're pretty close now. I'm looking for brass, woods high, whoops, that was woods low. I believe they're like the same. Yeah, they're the same. They're the same thing. So let's look for some. Nope. So I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna do something like this. It's a pretty cool thing I like to do. So we're gonna go in. I'm gonna turn on the dynamics over time. So I'm gonna automate events in a piano roll like so. I'm gonna do it again. And this time I'm gonna voice these slightly different. So this one's gonna go up. Then the cool thing about this plug is I can actually use multiple patches at the same time on one piano roll. So that's a short. Holy cow, that's a long short. Let's see this. There we go. That's I'm looking more. Now I'm gonna have this imprinted on my sound, so that I might not want, but I think it'll work out in this case because I want this. We can only, that's as high as we go here. So we're going to go. Do this down thing. This might not work. Okay, and I'm going to switch to velocity. Also, I'm going to turn up the volume. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this a little sharper. And this a little bit sharper. I'm going to go into woods lows, turn that off. And this is just a thing I mean to do consistently. I just need to turn that up. This isn't working out the way I want it to, so I'm going to cut it. I'm going to paste it into its own channel, which you can't do with what you would think. You'd actually have to come in and hit Control V. It doesn't work if you try and do it the other way. And so I'm just going to load up a third patch, and this one's specifically going to just do that thing. And so you could try and synthesize something cool, but I like the way this is going to add to it. Or you know what? Let's try some French horns. That could sound really cool. Let's go to horns A6. And I'm going to choose their staccato and see how this works out. This is probably way too high, though. Let's hear it by itself. And then to support the low end, I'm going to add in a tuba. Let's do a contrabass tuba. And actually, is there a solo version of this? I have some bossy solo. Let's use that. Do they not have a legato? They do not. I'm going to go back then. Forget that. Okay. It's not like it's doing anything crazy. It's just nice to have that. I'm going to add this on. Is this the... Nope, that's the French horn. I'm not going to worry about loading a custom patch for these because I'm not going to be changing the articulations. So I'm going to copy and paste and make sure this is within range, which it is definitely not. That's so freaking awesome. Now I'm thinking about changing that kick. Probably needs to be changed or at least processed differently. I was kind of harsh on my kick processing. Maybe make it a little more subtle. And we could add some verb to the hi-hat. What is the sound I settled on? Oh, I didn't. So this is my verb setup. I have one set up by it's covered in the mixing series, more of a mixing move. I'm going to come into large and choose female vocal. Or if I can't spot it right away, I'm going to choose something else. So, well, it might be in a different category. Anyways, here we go. Choose that. So I think it's a mid-range. It's not a large haul deal. It's a medium haul deal. I want something longer. Let's do large atmosphere. Quite long. Now I'm going to pitch that sound down. I think it sounds cool down further. I'm going to give it its own treatment too. I'm going to add its own verb on it. Is there side information on this? Oh, there is. I'm going to add another EQ afterwards to tame what I just did. That tuba, I'm going to bring the tuba back up. I could keep going for ages. I have a lot of ideas. So you see, you start going, you get your sound, and then as soon as you know what sound you're after, you sort of just start moving towards that. So, because what I was going to do next, if I were to keep going, I'm thinking of adding a couple more instruments and flaring them in over time. If I were to do this with synthesis, I'm not really feeling a sound design feeling right now. So, sometimes you feel like doing it, sometimes you don't. So this time around, I'd probably dig through presets. So let's do that one. So I picked out FM8 because they've got a crap ton of presets. And let's go into the pad section and see if there is a cool sound we could use. So it's like, I've used this sound before, so I guess that's sort of cheating. Let's go to a different sound and sort of just look for some inspiration. New sounds. New sounds. It's important to find new ones. Yeah. Oh, that's kind of nice. That could go in with our bass and fit in pretty good. So let's go ahead and I don't even need to write a new part for this. I just paste it. mixing this would be more of a color mix. So I'd be looking at how would I fit my colors together. So let's do one more. Let's add in sort of I'm picturing a brighter sound. This time, let's grab, see now, not Native Instruments. Native Instruments has tons of presets. That's why I like grabbing their stuff for reasons like this. If I'm going to grab Harmor or something, I don't have very many presets for it. It's not got as many options unless I make it. And so I generally don't save my stuff. I usually work from scratch and stuff by image line for that reason. So they have lots of presets you can go and download, but I just find that I like going to things like this for the preset side of things. So let's that'd be kind of cool for a small coloration in our chords. So I'm going to go to the pattern where I'm messing with chords. And sometimes this all ends up in one pattern. Sometimes it breaks out. I usually have my drums in a separate pattern from everything else. Unless I'm doing something that's like really complicated. Then it tends to all end up in one pattern for weird reasons. So we're just going to have it on there. And this one... do I want to add a third note? Nope. We'll just have this sort of drone thing going on down there. And I'm going to take this and automate its volume. I'm going to do this outside of it because it's just a little more, it's not as compact as it is in the piano roll, but this just makes a little more sense to me for some reason. So I'm going to give this its own mixture channel, which you should do with most of your stuff, and send that to the verb a little bit. Let's see how that sounds all together. Let's go to that French horn doing the do 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 do, which is in this pattern, I believe. Yep. And do one of these. Wanted to get really crazy. Let's French horn. This guy. Where's this the strings? Oh, they're all coming out the same one. So let's fix that. Let's go in French horns. We're gonna send it out channel 3. It's not cascaded automatically. So this is like stuff. And then we're gonna go to channel 3. This will now be our French horns. And this could or could not work. I think it'll actually sound pretty cool. We're going to do a general coloration move where we take our sound and we move it across. And as far as the space and atmosphere, I think we've got that pretty well sorted. I want to create some interesting elements that people can sort of grab onto and be like, wow, that sounds really sort of like what's going on. So I'm just going to automate this thing up and down. And to do that, I'll just do that and move it sort of generally in this vicinity. Just let's try and get it a little more musical. So let's see how this works out. Try making this. What would be cool too is if we automated the send to the reverb. So we're going to send it to the reverb. We're going to automate this and we're going to go up like do, 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 and then sweep down. So like this. Oh, right there. Right there. It needs it. That's a little distracting. There's a couple ways to combat that. So we can create a custom send for it and then filter the send through automation, which is the more exact route, more work, and more advanced, but more interesting, I think, because we will be able to keep our effect. The other route is change your general settings, which you can often compromise other things. So anyways, I think we've come a long ways. I think we've established our mood quite a bit. We're beginning to focus on other elements. And I'm getting a little more into the production side of things because I don't want to continue on and develop the whole track. But when we create a loop that is this strong, it's very easy to then meld it out into a full-blown track, develop a couple ideas, and we don't even really have a melody yet. Like, we toss in a melody and away we go. So if you have any questions, let me know. I hope this was informative. You got a couple workflow things, seeing various ways of getting things done. Something I don't see very often is people working with Contact. Most of the time they stick to the stuff this kind of stuff, which is fine. But I feel like you get very, very different moods when you include sample production in a manner like this. So not that it doesn't exist. It's definitely out there. I see it all the time. It's just something the videos that pop up in my feed, I just don't see as often. So if you have any questions, again, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.